and welcome. You should be on page 13 of your Algebra 1 Quarter 2 notebook. In this video, we're going to talk about slope. So the slope of a non-vertical line is the ratio of the vertical change, so the change in y, to the horizontal change, which is the change in x. We refer to this as rate of change, and we use m to represent slope. So when I find the slope of a line given a graph, if the line is going up, the slope should be positive. If the line is going down, the slope should be negative. You might see that I use this triangle. This triangle is a way, it's the Greek symbol delta, which means change. So m equals the change in y over the change in x. That is how we find slope. And we find that by taking our y values, finding the difference of our y values over the difference of our x values. I use these little sub numbers to say that there are two y values. There's 1, 2 y values, 1, 2 x values. A positive slope will be going up. So I could draw a line like this, and this is what positive slope. It's left to right slope, like you're reading a book. A negative slope will go down like this, left to right. The slope is going down. So we're going to find the slope of each line graphed by finding the change in y over the change in x. So I'm going to just kind of write that out. M equals the change in y over the change in x. So I go left to right. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go up. 1, 2, 3. Up, 3. When I go up, it's positive. So it goes up, 3. And now I'm going to go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The right is also positive, so it is going to be 7. The slope of this line is 3 over 7. This line is clearly a negative slope, so I should expect a negative number. M equals the change in y over the change in x. I'm going to start left to right. I'm going to go down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 4. When I go down, it is negative, so I will write negative 4. And now I'm going to go right. 1, 2, 3. Right 3. Right is positive. So the slope of this line equals negative 4/3. Let's take a look at numbers 3 and 4. Now, there aren't any distinct dots drawn on test. You will get dots like these problems, or you should ask if you're not 100% sure. I see the line crossing here, and I see the line crossing, let's see, here. So I see the line crossing in those two spots. I'm going to write m equals the change in y over the change in x. This is a negative slope. I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3. So down 3, that's negative 3. And I'm going to go right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's positive. So the slope of this line is negative 3/5. This line I feel crosses here, and I'll just say here. Lots of different points you could have seen for this line. Slope equals the change in y over change in x. I keep on writing it that way so you really internalize that it's the change in y over the change in x. I got a positive slope. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3. So that's positive 3. And over 1, 2, 3. That's another positive 3. You need to simplify slope. Fractions are division, so slope equals 3 divided by 3, which is 1. All All right, moving on to page 14. Sometimes you need to find the slope of horizontal and vertical lines. So if you remember, the definition of slope was for any non-vertical line. So hopefully that gave you an indication that vertical lines are going to be a little bit different. So with vertical lines in particular, we'll just start there. We can use this nice acronym, BUCKS. So this stands for vertical, undefined, and crosses. So crosses, X for crossing, the x-axis. So it's not X for crossing, actually. I mistook that. It's X for it's crossing the x-axis. So that's why it's the X. Now, for horizontal lines, we've got H for horizontal, Y for zero or an O for zero slope, and the Y is going to be the crosses, the y-axis. And so this Y goes to that. I will admit I don't use these particular acronyms, but perhaps they are helpful for you. I know that whenever I have a slope of 0, and I'm going to show you why it is a horizontal line has a slope of 0. Remember that slope is the change in y over the change in x. So let's just choose 2 points. I'm going to choose these 2 points as my change. So the change in y. Do you see that it is not going up and down or down? So there is 0 change in y. And in this case, I got 1, 2, 3. 0 divided by any number is 0. So if you use this to calculate the slope of a horizontal line, you can clearly see that the slope is 0. Likewise, with vertical lines, if m equals the change in y over the change in x, I'll just choose 2 random points. The change in y, let's go down 2. So down 2. So that's a negative 2, right? But it doesn't go left or right. So there is no change in x. That's 0. If you were to put in that in the calculator, you get an error. In Desmos, you get undefined. But essentially, I cannot divide any number by 0. So this shows you very clearly that I have an undefined slope because, quite frankly, I can't divide anything by 0. We're going to go back to that formula, finding a slope of a line given 2 points. So if I have a graph, I'm doing a lot of counting. But if I have 2 points, I'm still looking for the change in y over the change in x. And this is when I'm going to find the difference of my 2 y's versus over the difference of my 2 x's. Excuse me, that should have been a 1. In these types of situations, what you really need to be careful of is negative numbers and how you're putting that into the formula. The first thing I like to do when I'm finding the slope using 2 points is I like to label my points. So I'm going to write x1, y1, x2, y2. It does not matter. This could be x2, y2, x1, y1, as long as you're consistent. This is the first x and y, the second x and y. Now I'm going to substitute into the formula. y2 is negative 3 minus y1, which is 3, over negative 2 minus 4. So I simply filled in the formulas. Negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. Negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. Fractions are division, so that equals 1. My slope, given these 2 points, is 1. So it's a positive slope of 1. Let's take a look at this next one. I'm going to label my points, x1, y1, x2, y2, and slope equals 2 minus 5 over 8 minus 3. That equals 2 minus 5 is negative 3, and 8 minus 3 is 5. So my slope for this line is negative 3/5. So that's going to be a downward slope. Let's take a look at number 9. I've got x1, y1, x2, y2. M equals 4 minus 0. And I've got 8 minus 8. 4 minus 0 is 4. 8 minus 8 is 0. I cannot divide by 0. So M equals undefined. These 2 points are along a vertical line. Now if I go x1, y1, x2, y2, let's plug that into our formula. -2 minus -2. The subtraction symbol does not replace the negative. Over 5 minus 6. So I get -2. Remember, that's plus plus. So -2 plus 2 is 0. 5 minus 6 is -1. 0 divided by any number is 0. So this slope is 0. This is a horizontal line. One thing you can start recognizing, if I have the same x values, that is automatically going to result in a 0 in my denominator. I've got an undefined slope. Likewise, if I have the same y values, I will get 0 into my numerator, and I will get a slope of 0. That is it for this video. Thanks so much. Bye.